Welcome back and thank you so much for joining me today. So we are going to be looking at writing in index form. Now, I want you to think about the relationship between square roots and index form. So I'm going to put it up here. So if I've got any number that is square rooted by something, it is always going to equal that number 1 over that n. So let's have a look at square root of 15. Well, square root of 15, the n, even though it doesn't have an n, that just means that n is 2. So, because the sign is square root, so we don't have to put a 2 there. We just infer. So all it becomes is 15 to the power of a half. Let's look at 7x to the power of 5, which is being square root. First thing I think about, what is the opposite of square root? Well, I know the opposite is going to be to the power of a half. So I'm just going to write it. Now, let's look at our index form. Our index form and index rules is when we've got indices inside and outside, they are multiplied together. So that just means I have 7 to the power of a half, x, 5 times a half, so that will become 5 over 2 to the power of 5 over 2. Let's move on to our next question. Well, the first thing I see is n is 4 this time, so I know my in this index form, it's going to have a power of 4, well 1 over 4. So to get started, I'm taking the 3 out the front, just so it's out of the way. I'm then looking at, I've got x to the power of 7 to the power of a quarter. The next thing I think about is my rules, and when I've got a indice and then I've got brackets and another one, I multiply them together. So I go, okay, well, what's 7 times a quarter? Is 1 times 7 is 7 over 4. Because the top of our fraction is how many parts we have. Lucky last one I'm going to be looking at is 10 to the power of 10. Well, this is where we need to break it down. So I'm going to have 10 times. Remember, when I've got square root, that is a half to the power of a half. Now, I want you to think about what does what indice does 10 have? It has a 1. So do you remember when we have got the same base? It's just the index is different. We are able to add them together. So I've got 2 10s here. So my base is going to be 10. I've got 1 plus a half, which is 3 over 2, or 1.5. But we stereotypically write it as a fraction. So I'm going to say I've got 3 over 2. So 10 to the power of 3 over 2. And there you have it. If you need any extra help to convert into index form, please let me know.